It's not.
There are people that need you to be rich. There are people that need
100%.
you to be healthy. There are people that need you to be healed. There are people. Oh, okay. I'm not going down that path.
No, please. We need to. We need to, because people aren't paying attention.
What's going on, guys? Well, another edition of Dads on Purpose, the podcast. I'm your host, Josh Ashford, and as always, got the big homie KB, Mr. Kevin Brigance. What up, bro?
What up? What up? What up?
Bro, that's twice. Y'all, this is the second time.
It might be the AirPods, man. You might be too hype. You might need to lower the hype down.
Man.
He wasn't even hyped. That's the thing. He wasn't even hyped. That's the second time we tried to record that, and Kev couldn't come in.
Dude, you got to get a mic, man.
That's what happens when you have an alternative location for the day. So, we just got to work with what we got.
That's right. Fair. And I mean, he does have a mic, but he's at the church right now. So we're gonna keep it funky. I'm not editing. I'm not stopping. And we just gonna roll with this. This is the podcast y'all getting. Welcome to the show. Kev, we got company, man. We got Michael Unbroken in the house, bro. What is up, man? How are you?
Man, I'm amazing, guys. It's an honor to be here with you today. I'm very, very excited.
He said honor. Like
honor.
I appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate that, right? Michael, how do you usually introduce yourself, man? Because you got an amazing, wonderful story, but like, how do you introduce yourself?
Yeah, man. I think context is everything. So why don't I give you the 4-minute here, and that way we can create some baseline for people to understand my background. I grew up in Indianapolis. My mother was a drug addict and alcoholic. In fact, she actually cut off my right index finger when I was only 4 years old. So you can kind of see the scars and the tissue and the surgeries. And people always say, well, how could your mom do that? And like, you hear that adage, hurt people hurt people. And, I'm a part of generational trauma dating back generations and centuries of my family. Mm-hmm. She married my stepfather when I was 6. He was super abusive. Like the dude you pray, it's never your stepfather. Wow. He kicked the crap out of my brothers and I, put me in the hospital multiple times. And when I was a kid, man, I used to lay in bed at night and I would pray and I'd be like, God, send my real dad to rescue me. Because I always was like, man, I think my dad's out saving the world or something. And I'd come to find out, like, nobody's coming to save you.
Yeah.
And I spent the majority of my childhood homeless and deeply in poverty. In fact, lived with 30 different families between 8 to 12 years old. We were constantly getting evicted, water turned off, power turned off, moms in rehab, stepdads wherever. And when I was 12, my grandmother adopted me. Now, you would think that'd be a godsend, which to some extent it was, but I'm biracial, black and white. And my grandma was an old racist white lady from a town in Tennessee you never heard of. We had a copy of Mein Kampf, Hitler's autobiography, on our kitchen table.
Oh, my God.
My uncle's in prison for life. He's a part of the Aryan Brotherhood. And the crazy part of this is I grew up in a predominantly black neighborhood, and I wasn't allowed to bring my black friends into my house. Like, my grandma got me white boy chili bowl haircuts, like, for real. So, you have this identity crisis at a very young age. And so I started getting high when I was 12, started doing drugs. I was a drug addict by 13, getting drunk. I got kicked out of school when I was 15 for selling drugs. My friends were getting arrested. I was running from the cops, getting shot up, breaking into houses, stealing cars. Like, dude, it was crazy. And I got put into a last chance program. Still did not graduate high school on time. Went to summer school. Summer school teacher literally goes, we just want you out of here. Here's the diploma. Goodbye. And I was sitting here after getting fired from a warehouse job. I was putting microchips in, those jobs. You're standing there 12 hours.
Yeah.
So I got fired probably because I was stoned. And I'm sitting in my car and I'm like, okay, hold on. Timeout. Stop. This is chaos.
Yeah.
What is the solution for poverty? It's money. Right. And so I sat in my car this day. I was like, all right, I want to make $100,000 a year legally. This was super important because I have family in prison for life. And as of today, my 3 childhood best friends have been murdered. Wow. I knew where I was going. I knew like 100%. And so I got a job working for a fast food gig. At 18 and a half years old, I had 52 people under me, learning leadership, learning ordering, P&Ls, loss, profit, the whole thing.
Yeah.
one day I'm online chatting with my homie on MySpace, and he just got a Tahoe.
MySpace.
Shout out to MySpace.
And this is like 2006, right? He had a clean whip. And I'm like, hold on, man. You're a dummy like me. You went to my high school. All we did was the same things together. What are you doing? He's like, I got a job at an insurance company. And guys, let me tell you this. My mind was blown because I didn't know that was possible. The only thing I knew here was buy here, pay here, repos, evictions, abuse, chaos. And so I said, that's my window to 100,000. So I just started learning more skills. Eventually, as I turned 21, I landed a job with a Fortune 10 company, no high school diploma, no college education, started making six figures, and then I destroyed my life. Because that thing happens to me that happens to people the first time they get money is I used it as a tool for things that did not make me better. And I found myself at 26 years, heading into 26 years old, I was 350 pounds, smoking 2 packs a day, drinking myself to sleep. And that's when I put a gun in my mouth. I was done. I was like,
all right, I got to stop you right there. Please. Because here's the thing. I was just letting you go. When I said, how do you introduce yourself? I just meant like, yo, I'm Michael, I'm an author. But I was just like, yo, since we already getting into it, like we just came out the gate because there is so much to unpack in that story. And I don't know if I'm yelling because I sound like I'm yelling, but it's cool. We're going to roll with it. I'm just like, we got to go back to the raising and things like that. Like your upbringing and your family dynamic and things like that. Because so before we got on here, I told y'all I was triggered because I triggered some other people about a post I made on IG talking about alternatives to spanking. I just posted that today. So today, what's today? Wednesday, Tuesday, Monday?
Today's Wednesday.
Today's Wednesday. I posted on Wednesday. Y'all can go back. Y'all know when we record this. And so I have this question of like, you said hurt people. And I have a similar saying is that, you know, what is it? Broken people raise broken people that break people. Like it's like you said, it's just a generational curse and things like that. So my thing is, and I know you were getting to it. Is that you had all this like you were raised this way, 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 and there's the consequences are always the same. Not even the consequences, the outcomes. It's like, yo, like everybody's hurt. You're either gonna go to jail or you're gonna raise more hurt people. So it's like, how did you break away from that? Because again, going back to the post that I made today, like people think spanking is cool, spanking is dumb. It's literally proven not effective. It only hurts people, right?
People
are like, oh no, but people, they respect you. And I'm like, fear isn't respect. And so I want to know like what changed for you?
That's good.
Yeah. And look, I agree with you, man. The most polarized, it's crazy to me. The most polarizing thing I will ever put online is that. And you should see some of the stuff I put on there. And people always be like, oh, it didn't bother me. Are you sure? Because I'm pretty sure your wife tells me that you are not communicative when I'm coaching her. Right. I'm pretty sure your son is like, my dad doesn't hug me. I'm pretty sure your best friends are like, man, we can't ever trust him because he never comes through. He's emotionally unavailable. You sure spanking doesn't hurt you? Because I'm going to argue the opposite, and I'm going to be right. So, look, like, no, it is, man. Look, I've gone to war with people on this. I've literally been like on live with 20,000 people watching, being like, come on the channel with me. Let's have the conversation about it. It's nonsensical. It is uneducated to hit a child. You are foolish. You are ignorant. And ignorant means lack of education. You are not educated in the ramifications of this. Hold on. Before I answer your question, I want to say this. Go look at the science and the research of trauma. So in the 1990s, Dr. Folletti, the California Center for Disease Control, and Kaiser Permanente did the ACE survey, Adverse Childhood Experiences Survey. They surveyed 18,000 plus people to find if there was a correlation between child abuse and long-term detrimental ramifications as an adult. And the answer is unequivocally yes. They did a series of 10 questions. Were you abused? Were you molested? Were you homeless? Did you have suicidal people in your family? Did a family member go to prison? Were you whatever the list goes on and on. And the more answers yes you have to this question, the more likely you're going to be 5,200% to commit suicide. 2,000% more likely to smoke, 2,200% more likely to use alcohol, over 1,000% more likely to have pulmonary embolisms, heart attacks, diabetes, asthma, right? Don't tell me that that's okay, because look, growing up in a cortisol state in fight or flight means that the body can never do what the body is supposed to do, and that's function optimally. Because what happens is you find yourself in this hypervigilant state that is based on one thing: survival. So if you have kids who are always trying to survive, how are they going to learn? How are they going to grow? How are they going to be people of character and substance and avoid the chaos that inevitably became my rock bottom? They're not. My stepdad beat the crap out of me. My mom beat the crap. My grandma, dude, I'm telling you, like, I sat here, I had straight F's in school. I was doing drugs when I was 12. I didn't graduate high school. I was hurting people around me. When I was 24, my brother said, never talk to me again. Ruined every relationship I've ever had, lied to every person I've ever known, never knew how to say yes or no to anything. Why? Because look, that spanking that you think is okay teaches a child something that you need to understand, in that every time you hit them because they're trying to figure out the world, you're telling them that they're not okay or allowed to be themselves. What you're actually doing, it's not the physical pain that you're taking from a child, you're stripping their identity. You're taking away their very ability to be them. And then 20 years later, I got to coach them because you didn't do your job.
Bro, can y'all y'all out there in podcast land, can y'all tell he's passionate? Like,
very passionate.
Like no, like not even passionate like, yo, like, buy my course, but like passionate in the fact that, like, yo, he's been there, he's done the work and the research, and it's just like, yo, like, for lack of a better word, like, why are you guys so dumb?
Yeah.
Numbers don't lie. The research doesn't lie. And so to answer your question, I need to calm myself, because I do get fired. Because look, man, I wouldn't even be having this conversation if I didn't have parents who were ignorant.
Yeah.
Right.
We wouldn't be here right
or grandparents.
We are, because let's get this done. Let's stop. It's 2022. Stop being dumb.
Hey, real quick, Michael, turn your mic back up. Turn it up.
So I think it might be the echo cancellation thing. I got too hype. Silenced me.
Look, that's what happened when you got money, man. You got buttons.
Let's do this. Is that better?
Hey,
there we go.
Better,
okay, I got canceled by the internet just now because I get too hype. So, excuse me. I looked at my life when I was 26. It was a disaster, man. I was laying in bed, and you got to keep in mind, I'm 350 pounds.
Yeah, you big.
I'm smoking a joint, eating chocolate cake, and watching the CrossFit Games. Dude, rock bottom.
Yeah.
And I got up and I went in the bathroom and I looked at myself in the mirror. It was the first time I'd ever done this. And I remember being 8 years old. And the water company had come and turned our water off again. Like blistering hot Indiana summer day in August, man. And I go in the backyard, I grab this little blue bucket. I walk across the street to the neighbor's house, and I still water for the first time. And I remember being like, man, when I'm a grown-up, this is not going to be my life. And it wasn't financially, but it was because I was still that hurt, lost little boy. And as I looked in the mirror, the thing I understood to be most true in that moment, I broke that promise to myself. And I asked myself, what are you willing to do to have the life that you want to have?
Yeah.
And I have no idea where this came from, but the answer was no excuses, just results. And that in that moment meant that I had to stop negotiating with myself. And I'm going to tell you guys something crazy.
And this is at 26, right?
This is at 26. So it's been over a decade, almost 12 years. And this is crazy. It's always weird when I tell people this. People always go, well, what did you do first? Right?
Yeah.
I looked at myself and I used to call myself a terrorist because I don't negotiate with terrorists. And I would put myself in this position of going to the gym, eating clean, reading the book, investing in myself, going to work on time, doing the things I said I was going to do, packing up my whole life and leaving and moving across the country to go heal, going and living in other countries and writing 3 books, having a award-winning speaking career and being a podcast. Like, I don't negotiate, man. That's what happened. I looked at my life and I said, who do you want to be? Because they stole it. They stole it. They stole my identity. And so I'm sitting here like, I don't know who I am. Because like, you know, look, I'll paint you a picture. Growing up, I was that kid that you guys all had in the circle. And you're like, why is he always trying to be like us? Because I didn't know how to be me because I wasn't allowed to, you know? And so I liked your favorite band. I liked your favorite artist. I like your favorite food. I bought the Gerbeau jeans, even though they're ugly. I bought the iceberg, even though I thought it was ludicrous. Right. And why? Because like I wanted to fit in, man, because I had no identity. I didn't know who I was. And so this process of healing, people always go, well, how do you heal? You have to be willing to fail into discovering who you are. And that's been the process for the last 11 years, is just being like, I'm going to try this. I don't know if it's going to work or not, but I'm going to learn something.
Wow, bro. I hear like I think the one thing that really, really stood out for me is that you became a terror to yourself. And I think sometimes when we're hurt or we're in a position in pain, it's hard for us to look at ourselves. Like, I'm working on a project right now just for our family household. And I'm looking like, man, I have to turn the mirror on myself and say, look, this is what we've done. This is what you've done to get here. Now, what are you going to do to change? And I think sometimes that's hard, though, right? Because we don't want to be wrong. We don't want to be wrong. We don't want to see the hurt and the pain that we've gotten ourselves into, or even the positions that we're in. So I think that's really impactful to say, man, I had to turn the mirror onto myself and become I had to see myself for who I am and fight against that. And I think sometimes we want to help ourselves and do better for ourselves, but we never turn the mirror onto ourselves to say, okay, this is why. Now, what are we going to do to fight through it and be better individuals, bro? And I think that's a hard. Can
I be honest though, Kev? Like, if we're just being real, people are lazy. And once you like identify, like, I don't even want to say what's wrong or what you don't like or who you are. If you like really look at yourself, now you got to do something about it. Yeah. And what happens when you do something about it? Now you got to do the work. Okay. So now you got to go to therapy, right? You know what I'm saying? Now you have to invest in yourself. And a lot of people, we just get so used to just going day to day, like, this is who I am, and just accepting like, this is me, not this is who I want to be, right?
Yeah.
Michael wants to jump in.
Can I tell you why? Can I tell you why?
Yeah.
I'll tell you exactly why people don't. Because think about this. So you have the impact of this identity thing as a child in your home, but you also have it growing up in school and in your community and around your friends. And so I'm going to paint you a picture. You're in 3rd grade, you're in Miss Smith's class, and you're coloring a house, and you decide to make the moon purple. And Miss Smith comes up to you and she criticizes you in front of the entire class. And you're in the developmental year, so your brain is going, wait a second, okay, I need to make meaning of this. Because what is the brain's function? Survival. It cares about nothing else. Doesn't care about your goals or your dreams or the color of your shirt. It cares about making sure that you live long enough to procreate and watch your procreations procreate. Period. That's how it works. And so since the brain is adaptable, it's malleable and plastic, it looks at those scenarios and it says, I can't be me, because when I do, there is suffering mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. And because of that suffering, I am afraid, because it's an autonomic response. I am afraid to move into the thing that I need to do, because historically the data proves that when I do, there is hurt. And so instead of putting myself into uncertainty where I can go to grow, I choose to stay back here in certainty, even the chaos of certainty, which is really fascinating, because if I stay here, I'm safe. Yeah. And so when people have this moment and they're like, okay, I know what I'm supposed to do, The reason that they can't move through it is because the fear is overwhelming. Because on the backside of that fear is something they've never experienced: love, compassion, hope, grace, care, trust, honesty, right? Valor. They've never had that before. And so the idea of showing up for themselves is so incredibly terrifying that they would much rather stay where they are, because the brain says, well, I'm used to this.
All from coloring a moon purple. Like you feel me? Like that's what doing the work is all about. Like the homie Tyler Campbell, he's been on a couple shows. He talks about that in the book he just wrote. The Ball Came Out. And he talks about like, I couldn't write this book because I wasn't dealing with 12-year-old Tyler. Like 12-year-old Tyler is a black kid, the son of NFL Hall of Famer Earl Campbell, with all these expectations, living in white as day Austin. Like, you know what I mean? Like all these expectations. Yeah. Tyler likes comic books, but Tyler couldn't like comic books because of who he was, where he was, and what black people were supposed to be. And he's like, yo, when I went to therapy and I took it all the way back to 12, now I can write this book and give it to you. And so that's why I made that comment that like, yo, all of that happened because Miss Smith told you and made fun of you for coloring a moon purple. Like there is a lot of work that we got to do. And I ain't even trying to be deep. Like that's not even me. Like that's not my swag. Yeah. But like there is so much that you need to uncover. There's so much I need to uncover. And I'm gonna just keep it 100. I don't want to deal with it. Like I am self-aware that like, yo, I know there's some things going on back there. I'm gonna just leave them where they at. But that's just me.
And guess what? When you do that, nothing's gonna change.
Nothing.
True.
So if you're happy with that,
depending on what your outcome is, right?
So like, let me phrase it like this: the one thing I'm most terrified in life, the only thing I'm scared of is dying with regret. And I believe this to be true, because this was my experience, and I could be wrong because I'm not you. I have no idea. But I think this paints a picture for a lot of people. By not being willing to face whatever that thing is, you will never discover your true growth potential, thus never fully tapping into your ability to be the person you were supposed to be. And on your deathbed, that last gasp, that like right before it's over, the word regret will come into your head, and that is a life unlived.
I don't know if I believe that to be true, because like me, I'm just like, yo, I'm gonna be gone, like I'm dead. Right? but like for me, and so I don't want to make it seem like
such a contrarian, man.
Wait, huh?
So you're a contrarian. I love it.
But I'm just saying. So like for me, I do question a lot of things. But what I meant to say is like, what I'm trying to phrase it is that I know that there's something in my past that hasn't been dealt with. Yeah, I know that there's something somewhere. I don't know what it is. But I question everything, even the way I have two daughters. I have a 3-year-old and I have an 18-month-old. And like all of my interactions and like, you know, like if I yell at them, I'm like, yo, why did I yell at them? And so then I'll go back and I'll apologize. And I'll like, yo, like daddy didn't like, this is what daddy was trying to convey. You know what I mean? And so like just questioning my entire upbringing and making sure that I'm not making the same mistakes that my parents made, because at the end of the day, they did the best they could with the knowledge they had. But I'm here in this time. I have a whole lot more access to different knowledge than they had. So like, I got to make the best of that, right?
Yeah, 100%, man. I mean, that's admirable and beautiful. And I think that, you know, I had this video go viral on TikTok with a bajillion watches, and it was talking about this idea that, you know, our parents didn't do their best. And I think for a lot of us, our parents didn't do our best, and that's the unfortunate truth. But we have the ability to be the change makers. Yeah. We have the ability right now to be the ones that break the cycle through these conversations. I mean, think about it. We got 3 men of color having this conversation right now. Yeah. Go to 1991. This ain't happening. Right. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so it's kind of that.
Go ahead.
Well, you know, I just think it's kind of like it's the change of the times. It's time for us to like I just finished writing my 3rd book called Unbroken Man. It's time to man up. It's time to man up the right way, not that nonsensical, toxic way. And the way that you do that is education and information. And so if we can come together and we can talk and we can learn and we can acknowledge the mistakes. I mean, you're talking about you yelled at your daughters and you went back to explain that, hey, I'm learning. Like, that's growth, dude.
Yeah.
Nobody ever said that to me when I was like, my stepdad put my head through a wall. He didn't come be like, oh, I'm sorry. I was trying to like, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, we live in a different world, man. And it's admirable and beautiful. So congratulations.
Can we, Kev, I know Kev's got to say something because I know that, when Kev starts saying, he want to jump in there. But is it fair for us to say that our parents didn't do their best? Like my whole thing is like, they did the best they could with the knowledge they had, right? And so I always go back to, Kevin knows this, I got a mentor or a mentee, and he's got a baby mama. Well, him and his baby mama, they're trying to make it work. Well, his baby mama, she keeps running back to her family, which is full of single, independent women giving her the advice to leave. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, baby girl, I was like, listen, I know you love them, but that's not the right person you can go to because they don't know how to help you. And so it's just like my parents did the best they could. My parents didn't know about financial literacy, which is why they struggle now. And so like they did you know what I mean? Does that make sense? Or am I wrong? Because I'm open to criticism. Like,
I mean, I don't think you're right. I don't think either of us are right or wrong. I mean, there's so much context in it. Cause look, dude, if I wanted to go deep into it, I go like, well, they had the library.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so I don't know, man. I'd rather not get into an argument about it because like Jay-Z has one of my favorite quotes of all time. He says, never argue with a fool. I'm not calling you a fool, but I love this quote. Never argue with a fool because from a distance, people can't tell who is who. So who's the fool in this conversation? You or me, right? And so, I look at that and I go, I don't know. But I do know, like, I mean, we have the library. We have all these books. We have all of this education and information that you could access. Do you choose to do it or not? So I don't know, man. Yeah.
I guess that goes back to like making a sacrifice to learn that information. Like, if you're not good with money and you want to be better, make the sacrifices. Like maybe you got, okay, I get it. No. And I wasn't trying to argue. I was literally, I was just like, okay,
I may be wrong. You may be wrong. I have no idea. I just think it's, if we can at least like kind of plant the seed around the ideas, that's what matters. Just have the conversation.
And I think it's a little bit of both, right? Because even though you said, we're saying like our parents can get the information and access to the information, right? We still got the social economic hinderings, right? So like your parents didn't go to college and didn't get exposure. And I think that's some of the biggest things is that like, I think our parents did the best with what they could with what they were exposed to. And so oftentimes we have to really think about those things as well, because as much as all families should know about financial literacy, we know America didn't make it the place for all of us to really grasp and learn and how to utilize.
Whole different other podcast.
Yeah, whole nother podcast.
But you're spot on. I mean, even this morning in the gym, I'm like reading The Psychology of Money. I'm like, I don't know. I need to learn. Let's go.
Yeah.
So it's again, it comes down to that question, like, what are you willing to do to have the life you want to have?
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Kev, go ahead.
Going into that direction, what are you willing to do to have the life that you have? And I love that statement because when we was doing Dave Ramsey, they say you have to live like no one else so you can live like no one else. And so with that being said, I want to go back to the fear because I know we got all kinds of listeners listening and understanding that fear, a lot of the trauma that we have come from childhood, abuse, and we're calling whipping abuse, spankings abuse, right? Because even when I think about kids, I think about when you're given a spanking, you're given a spanking out of anger because your kid did something that you didn't approve of. But did we have the conversation of the punishment and why they got punished? So now you don't know how to have a conversation. You don't know how to tell your feelings. You don't know how. So I'm so bottled up with this trauma. And I know that I'm afraid to see what's going to come to the back end of it. How did you push through the fear? How did you push through not knowing what's on the other side of this trauma in order for you to say, you know what, this 300 got to go. Like I feel that 350 got to go. And then, so how did you push through that fear just to be the better person that you know that you could be?
Well, I think there's a lot to it, right? A huge factor in it is patience. Probably more importantly than anything, because I just kept screwing up. I'd be like, today's the day. I quit smoking 1,000 times. I quit cheating on my girlfriend 1,000 times, right? I was just like, because you go to those things because they're soothing. You go people who always have earbuds in, right? There's something about being in that keeps you safe from the world. But the problem with that is you don't get the solitude to discover who you are. And, I here's what happened is I kept having these experiences of not being able to sleep. I just be awake all night. And then it dawned on me, real peace, real truth only comes through dealing with the thing that keeps you awake at night. And so I just started doing that little by little. That's and at first, I mean, dude, it was like just failure after failure after failure after failure. And I was okay with that because I was like, at least I'm trying. Whereas for the first 25, I didn't. And one of the things I think people have to hold on to is also grace. Like you have to recognize, like here's how I think about trauma. It's like having a house.
Yeah.
And you go outside every day and in your front yard, there's trash. It ain't your trash, but it is your house. And so you can either pick it up or you can walk by it, but either way it's there. And so I just started putting myself in this position of, all right, let me learn, let me educate myself, let me show up a little bit. Because we inherently, I think we kind of know what to do. I was like, I probably shouldn't be smoking 2 packs a day, right? I probably shouldn't be drinking myself. I probably shouldn't be, right? And so I was just like, all right, let me dabble into playing with removing and replacing bad behavior, right? Negative behavior and doing what I thought was necessary. And then there comes a point where you plateau. And that is the point in which, and this can happen incredibly quick. This is the point where you kind of like, I'm not sure what to do next, right? And that's where you need to go to a coach. That's where you need to get deeper into personal development, investing in yourself. I spent, I don't know, $250,000, 10,000 hours in personal development, literally. My whole life savings, every penny I have, my whole fortune to build my life what it is today. And so, it was really this series of continuing to go. And look, I'll say this too, because people will be like, well, I don't have $250,000. Yeah, I didn't either. What you do is, you start at zero. Yeah. The library. No joke, man. I literally, I must have read 700 books in the last decade. 90% of them are from the library.
Let's just keep it real. Like you don't even need to go to the library. Like Google, you can listen. Like you can get so many books on free on YouTube just to listen to them. Like,
it's true. Yeah. So really, it was about looking at, stop making excuses. Stop making excuses because your dreams don't care about your excuses. Your dreams don't care about your excuses, and it's easy to make them because why not? You deserve to play the victim.
Yeah.
You deserve to. I raised my hand. I played the victim so well because, you go look at your life. You're set up for failure. So many people are set up for failure. All right, cool. Well, you can be the victim or you can be the hero. And the one thing I can tell you to be the truth about it is it takes the same amount of energy to destroy your life as it does to build your life.
Absolutely. And say that one more time. You got to say that.
I'm gonna clip that one up.
Geez.
Well, it's true. It takes the same amount of energy to destroy your life as it does to build your life because you're making a decision. But look, the decisions you have to make as you go into what's next need to be about your money, your friends, your partner, your community, your goals, your values, your wants, needs, and interests, and everything in between. And you need to ask yourself, who do I need to be today for tomorrow? And when you start elaborating on who you are and you start pulling out the little snippets, look, man, I'm gonna tell you the truth. Your pen, literally a pen and a piece of paper is the greatest tool you'll ever have. Because what you need to do is sit down and define who you are. Like I'm literally
why not like typing it out or something it out?
Well, I think you could type it too, but it's just getting out of your head. It's just getting it out of your head and onto something, and then you take that and you put it somewhere where you look at it every single day.
And that's why you put it in a pen and paper, Josh, because digitally it could, if you don't have energy, it could disappear. But you put it on pen and paper and you plaster it somewhere that every time you wake up, you see it. Every time you brush your teeth, you see it. Every time you close your eyes, you see it. I think that is very, very, very important. Pen to paper and identifying who you really are. That's
good because you mentioned like putting energy into it. Like it's so easy to just type something out like but like when you write, like that is like you like have to like physically, like, you know what I mean? Like we could type stuff without even thinking about it. Like I used to back in the day with the little flip phones with the little T9 text, and I could text in my pocket without even looking at it. Like
same. I remember that.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? But now, like if you want to write something, like you got to really like, okay, is this legible? This is okay, yeah, but no, that's good, Cuff.
And more so, what you do with that information is you like KB, to your point, you look at it every single day, and then you close your eyes and you visualize it, and you put yourself in that room. You smell the smells, you feel the feel, you have the emotion. You know, I mean, last year, do you guys know who Grant Cardone is?
Yeah.
Okay. So Grant Cardone invested in Think Unbroken. He's a business partner. He's a mentor also. I actually just came back from his event in Miami. That's
the 10X.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for weeks, I got the journal. It's right over here. I won an investment from Grant Cardone. Weeks I wrote this in my journal, and I would close my eyes. I would imagine myself on the stage. I would imagine the moment. I would imagine him choosing me. And I wrote for weeks. And so this was in front of 10,000 people.
Yeah.
And there's a competition, and there's 9 other people competing. And I remember this, we're in the green room. And it's funny because hubris, I almost said a bad word. Hubris is this really interesting thing, right? And this woman goes, and I love her, so she knows I tell this story. This woman goes, well, good luck to y'all, but I already won. I didn't say anything. I just remember thinking in my head, I feel really bad for what's about to happen to you because you're not beating me because I already decided. And that's what writing things down and visualizing them do for you. And this applies to your money, to the kind of partner you want to be, to your friendships, to your community, to the life that you live. People like visualization is powerful because where attention goes, energy follows.
Facts.
Right. And so many people are like, you know, my life's not what I want it to be. And I'm like, that's because you watch Netflix and play video games. Your life's not what you want it to be. It's because you spend on frivolous crap to impress people who don't like you anyway. Your life's not what you want it to be because your friends groups are toxic. Right.
Right.
And so
right there.
you've got to be willing. You've got to be willing to decide who you want to be and move towards it like it's the only thing that matters in your life.
Did we lose Kev? There we go. Oh, no. That's good. That's good, Mike. Like you know what? Like just keep it a buck. Like I've realized that over the last couple of weeks in my own life, because like you said, where your attention goes, energy flows, or whatever you said. I know what you meant, but I forgot what you said. Y'all can rewind it. Y'all can listen to what he said and then come back here, right? But no. And so I've been a lot more intentional about everything that I did. You know, praise God, I am blessed beyond measure, and He has gotten me like so far. When I look at back where I come from, like, you know what I'm saying? Like I grew up, I used to have cockroaches crawling on my stomach when I grew up. Like
Same.
That was just life, right? But now I'm in this very affluent neighborhood with a great job, fantastic. Well, like all these different materialistic things, but I'm just like, my purpose is bigger than that, right? And so I've been like the last month, I've been tapping into my purpose and what God's calling me to do. And what I've seen is that every Sunday, you know what I'm saying, at 9:00, you get those alerts from iPhone saying how long you've been on your phone. And bro, every week it just drops 20%, 20%, 20%. And it's like, I'm tapped into my purpose and what's really going on. And so all those things that I used to do, like the playing on Netflix, the scrolling on Instagram and getting into it with trolls, except for today, because I had time. You know what I mean? Like those things like went away. And so it's like so true. So like when you like are intentional about things, man, like your life shifts. Yeah. Like just shifts. And I don't really know what other point I was trying to make, but besides that, like when you're intentional about life or anything, shift happens. Shift happens. Not okay. Yeah. On purpose.
Do you know my homie Anthony Trucks?
Anthony Trucks?
Yeah.
No.
That's his tagline. Shift happens. I'm gonna tell him that happened today. He's great.
Hey.
I'm gonna connect you guys. I think he'd be great. Anyway.
Yeah.
You know, I do agree. And you know, I look at my life now and also I measure, you know, I play a mind trick on myself and I tell myself my goals who I want to be are 37 years away. And in 5 years, it'll still be 37 years away because I'm always building. You're thinking too small. You guys right now are thinking too small. People listening to this show, you're thinking too small. You've allotted yourself the space to only get this much. Somebody asked me the other day, it was like, I just like in passing bumped into somebody and they go, what do you want? What are you looking for? I said, I want everything. Give it all to me. Everything. I want the best life, the best finances, the best partner, the best children, the best community, the best. I want it all.
Yeah.
You know, and people seem to think like they can only have so much. There's only so much wealth. There's only so much happiness. And that's not, you've been lied to. You've been told your whole life, get the 80,000, if you're lucky, get the $80,000 a year job and be good. Buy a house. Get the, you don't know. No, I want $80 million a year. I want to have the greatest impact on planet Earth you can imagine. Because here's what happened 2 years ago. I remember one of my friends was in trouble. We raised it. We did a donation. We raised some money. And I was like, you know, just looking at the numbers, $5 here, $8, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, you know, a $50 donation's nice, but it doesn't actually do anything.
Nope.
But what can you do with 50 million? And so it got me thinking about this idea of like, you know what, you got to go harder. You've got to want more and you've got to be willing to allow yourself the space to have it because so many people, man, just at the precipice, right when they're about to strike gold, they give up. They go, oh no, you know, actually, you know what? No, I don't need it. The thing that drives me most crazy about people are where like, should you be satisfied? Why? According to who? What about your life makes me want to be satisfied? Has nothing to do with me,
bro. That's like a common theme though with any successful person that like I've heard speak. Right. So I was just listening to Earn Your Leisure. They just did a podcast with Steve Harvey, 2.5 hours. Right. And so Steve, he was talking. He was telling a story about how he got to meet Robert Smith. Billionaire Robert Smith. And he was like, yo, his assistant was like, yo, everybody only gets 30 minutes with Robert Smith. That's it. He gets up, he walks, right? And so he's talking about how he's in this meeting with Robert. He shows up, he goes in the meeting, he knows he only has 30 minutes. And his assistant was like, hey, if I come in and he puts his hands up, that means you got 5 more minutes. And so he talks about this story. He's in there, his assistant does it, blah, blah, blah. It happens like 3 or 4 times. And I think like the 4th time, he finally was just like that. And his assistant never came back. He was in there with Robert Smith for 7 hours. Wow. And he said when he came out, he asked his assistant like, yo, like everybody only gets 30 minutes. Why'd I get 7? He was just like, because you're the first person after 20 minutes, didn't ask him for money. But the premise of the whole conversation, what they had while they were inside of there, Robert Smith was telling him like, yo, like you're thinking too small. Like you want to do 20? Like, bro, why don't you do 2,000? You know what I mean? Like, yeah. All of our minds are too small. Like we think too small because when you think too small, you're only thinking about yourself, right? But now if we're thinking about impact, like we're thinking about how we can really like change things. Just like you said, like $5, $10, $50 is good. But like, what does 50 million do? And it's not even about you like wanting money to be rich. Like there are people that need you to be rich. There are people that need 100%. You to be healthy. There are people that need you to be healed. There are people. Oh, okay. I'm not going down that.
No, please. We need to because people aren't paying attention.
Yeah.
People aren't paying attention. My goal, literally, my mission, I'm going to tell you how big my mission is with Think Unbroken, to end generational trauma in my lifetime through education and information so another kid doesn't have a story like mine.
Wow.
If my goal was I want to help 1,000 people, I would have done that 7 years ago. No, I want to end this. And so people have to understand this. The way that you're thinking has been embedded in you since you were a kid. You know, listen to this. You guys, I'm going to assume had this moment like I did, where you're walking through the hallways and they have that poster on the wall that says, find a job that's not being an NBA player.
Yeah.
Why? Why can't I be an NBA player? Stop belittling my dream. Negativity. Oh my God, it makes me so mad. Because here's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a rock star when I was a kid. I wanted to be the Foo Fighters or Jay-Z. That's all I ever wanted to do. And now I speak on stages in front of tens of thousands of people. Don't tell me I can't be Jay-Z. Don't you dare tell me that. And if you do, I'll punch you in the face because you don't get to dictate who I am. And all these people around you right now, you're like, I just vested $297 on a course. And they're like, $297 is so much money. It's not.
Yeah.
Oh my willing goodness. To do to have the life that you want to have. What do you want? I just spent 5 figures for a 1-day session with somebody. 5 figures.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to figure out how I can spend 100,000 with them.
Yeah.
There's a radio show here that I listen to, a Christian radio show, and praise God, they're amazing, they're awesome, but they're user like supported, right? And so they always ask for people to support, right? And I get so angry when I hear it because they build it up when they ask someone to donate $100. Like they're like, oh, I know this is so much money. Could you just be? And I'm like, that's nothing. Yeah. Like, listen, and that just drives me up the wall because that, like, listen, I tell you, we gotta dream bigger. I tell people all the time, like, my vision for this podcast is not to have a podcast, but it is to be the earn your leisure for fatherhood. Like, that is my goal. Like, my goal is for us to try, like, we can't be small. After we're done with this, I'm gonna ask you, do you want to sponsor our conference? That's in August. We haven't announced it, but that's me talking about it right now. Like, bro, there are moves that need to be made, and you have to be bold enough to take action. I'm probably gonna clip that out because I don't need people to know that.
No, you do, because now's the time. Get the money, build it. Let's go.
Exactly.
You know, even now you're thinking too small. You got to start planning right. Let's go.
No. I'm not thinking small. I'm just like, I ain't trying to put you on blast on the podcast.
Why?
I don't know. That's just me.
I don't know either. So do it.
That's my own needs, right?
Let's go.
Bro,
because look, you know, let me say something I think is really, really, really incredible important. And I'm not trying to razz on you, I promise, but I get into coach. I'm in coach mode today.
I'm not offended.
So people, tomorrow might not come. There's no guarantee you'll get tomorrow to ask that question. I was with John Maxwell in Atlanta a few weeks ago. If you don't know John Maxwell, he's written more #1 best-selling books than anyone in
the
this
best
space
leadership coach,
on planet Earth.
Yes.
Yeah.
People pay him hundreds of thousands of dollars for half an hour. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And he asked the crowd, I'm sitting in this room. It's a small room. He goes, does anyone have a question for me? Boom. My hand went up so fast, I pulled my shoulder out of socket. Why? Because if you wait, if you ain't first, you're last. And you got to be, my greatest character trait, I'm willing to be embarrassed publicly because I don't care what you think about me. Because as long as I'm living life in accordance with my values and my moral character, and I go look in that mirror and I'm okay with it, that's all that matters. Because tomorrow might not come. I could die right now, man. Like, for real, I think about this. I could die right now.
That's dope.
What if I don't say the thing that was on my heart?
Wow, that's it. So do you want to be the #1 sponsor for our conference, man? We're only looking for one.
Have to send me the details.
I'll send them to you right after this.
Yes,
we're only looking for one sponsor.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to pimp this thing out, and it has to be the right fit. And I just think, man, with your story and everything you're trying to do and what we're doing, it just makes sense.
Absolutely.
I don't want to shut this down. I want to keep going. Kev's got a meeting in 4 minutes. Oh my goodness. Oh, all right. We're Kev, what do you have to ask him? Because you don't know if we're gonna get him back. I want to have him back. We don't know if we're gonna get that opportunity. You see what I just did there?
I've seen it, man. The only thing because it's just all good. And I think Mike, you took us through it all, from brokenness to identifying that we're broken, to hitting a plateau when we're trying to develop when we're broken, to like even getting to our visions and our dreams. Has there been any PTSD? That's the question I have. Has there been any PTSD? So we're on a journey and we're getting 6,000 feet, 7,000 feet. But has there been any PTSD? Because I know a lot of us can get into the journey and be okay, but there's a lot of us where trauma is so deep where we just revert back to where we were. Have you ever experienced that or coached anyone through that to get back on track?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's entirely what I do. And that is unfortunately a byproduct of those experiences. You know, one of the biggest reasons I left my city where I grew up is because, man, I'd drive by that place or I'd smell that smell or I'd see that and I would just be so, man, I couldn't control myself, man. And it dawned on me like, wow, this is ingrained in you. This is in your DNA. If you guys have not read The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk, it is a must. It is literally a must. It is the most important book that you may ever read outside of Think Unbroken. And I'm not flexing, I promise. I wrote that book so it could be helpful for people.
The Body Keeps the Score.
Because here's the truth about it. We keep this stuff inside of us. It's literally in our physical body. Right? Like I carry the scars, the burns, the cuts, right? Mm-hmm. You have that. And so being able to work through, it's like taking all these experiences and putting them on a shelf where they need to go. It's like carrying a backpack that's full of bricks, right? And the more work you do, the more bricks you take out, the more bricks you take out. And eventually you get to put it down and you get to go, okay, I don't have to have this. I can let go of this. Yeah. And in that letting go, you become more of who you are. And the hardest part about that is, and I tell people when they join my programs, I always tell them, this is a rest of your life game. Yeah. The program might be 6 weeks or 12 weeks or 6 months or a year, whatever the program is.
Yeah, that's good.
But I'm telling you, when you sign this dotted line, you're in it for life. You're a part of the Unbroken Nation forever. And that means you got to understand the truth. Like all of the work is important because it gives you tools, because one day you're going to need them again.
Yeah, that's good. That's really
good. I appreciate that, Mike. What, besides that, answering that question, is there something you want to leave everybody with?
Look, I think the truth about it is, we all have decisions to make. Life is right here. Everything you want is right here. Nobody's going to hand it to you. There's no Disney moment. Nobody's coming to save you. You can play the victim or you can be the hero. But either way, you're making a decision.
Man, that's it. That's all. Y'all, bruh, I ain't got nothing else. I mean, I'm going to have to, and listen, I don't really usually watch our podcast. I don't rewatch them. I just don't, because I'm in the conversation, right? But this is definitely one that I know I'm going to have to impact, just because like there's so much. There's so much in this. And if y'all feel the same, y'all rewind it. Go ahead, add up them listens to us, because you know what I'm saying? We're just trying to run the numbers up. Like the podcast, subscribe to the podcast, share the podcast. 3 people, 1, 2, 3, 30 people. I'm thinking too small. I'm not going to count to 30.
3,000
people. Share with 3,000 people, man. But until next week, we love you guys. Take care. God bless. We out of here.